Indo-Pacific isn't just shifting, it's shaking. With Beijing flexing its muscles from the Taiwan Strait to the West Philippine Sea, an unspoken but unmistakable security alignment is quietly taking shape between the Philippines and Taiwan, not on paper, but in practice. While no formal treaty exists, growing cooperation on maritime patrols, intelligence sharing, and joint defense dialogue suggests a secret alliance in the making, driven by real fears and real threats. In 2025, Chinese gray zone operations surged by over 60% in Philippine waters, and Taiwan scrambled jets 432 times to intercept PLA incursions, numbers that send a clear message. The region's red lines are being tested, and in response, old diplomatic distance is giving way to pragmatic, security-first partnerships. This is no longer about unofficial ties. It's about survival in an increasingly contested Indo-Pacific. Long before modern maps and politics, the Philippines and Taiwan were already deeply connected, not by war or diplomacy, but by trade and shared ancestry. Archaeological finds reveal a vibrant jade trade route between the two as early as 2,500 years ago, with jade artifacts found in the northern Philippines traced directly to Taiwanese sources. Some anthropologists even believe that the Changban culture in Taiwan, dating back around 10,000 years, may have roots in early human migration from the Philippines. These aren't just fun historical facts. They're proof that these islands were part of a larger, interconnected Austronesian world long before any nation-state existed. In the 16th century, colonial ambitions further tightened this link. When Spain colonized Manila in 1571, they didn't stop at Luzon. They briefly established control over parts of northern Taiwan, calling it Spanish Formosa. This short-lived outpost was strategic, aimed at extending Spanish power across the region and linking the Philippines with broader trade networks in East Asia. Even then, Taiwan was already seen as a high-value node in the regional balance of power. Fast forward to the post-World War II period, the geopolitical map shifted dramatically. In 1975, the Philippines formally recognized the People's Republic of China, PRC, and accepted the One China policy, cutting official diplomatic ties with Taiwan, Republic of China or ROC. But cutting formal ties didn't mean cutting real ones. Instead, both countries established de facto embassies: the Manila Economic and Cultural Office, MECO in Taipei, and the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office, TECO, in Manila. These institutions became the backbone of a quiet but powerful relationship. Despite the lack of formal recognition, the economic and social ties only grew stronger. By 2007, bilateral trade was booming, with Philippine exports to Taiwan reaching $2.06 billion and imports from Taiwan totaling $5.06 billion. Taiwan also emerged as the third largest foreign investor in the Philippines, contributing to industries ranging from electronics to manufacturing. Perhaps most significantly, over 200,000 overseas Filipino workers, OFWs, were living and working in Taiwan, forming a human bridge that continues to deepen the relationship, both economically and emotionally. In recent years, especially after 2016, a subtle but clear strategic shift has been underway. Taiwan launched its new southbound policy, aimed at reducing economic dependence on China and building stronger ties with Southeast Asian nations, with the Philippines as a key partner. Under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., Manila has taken visible steps to ease restrictions on engagement with Taiwan. This includes allowing visa-free entry for Taiwanese nationals, not just for tourism and investment, but also as a gesture of goodwill that aligns with emerging regional security dialogues. As one analyst put it, the Philippines has shifted from a passive role into an active player in the Indo-Pacific alliance to prevent or minimize a PRC-ROC conflict in the region. Quiet diplomacy is giving way to purposeful alignment, one built on shared history, growing trust, and rising strategic urgency. This isn't just strategy, it's survival. The Philippines is no longer reacting to tensions in the Indo-Pacific. It's repositioning itself because the threat has landed dangerously close to home. At the heart of this shift is China's escalating assertiveness, both in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait, two zones where the Philippines now finds itself in Beijing's line of sight. In the West Philippine Sea, Chinese harassment has gone from sporadic to systemic. In 2024, the average number of Chinese vessels inside the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, EEZ, surged to 286 per day, a massive leap from 190 in 2021. That's nearly 300 ships a day, not fishermen, but Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels, crowding, tailing, and in some cases blasting water cannons at Philippine boats. Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. put it bluntly, China's 9-dash line has absolutely no basis in international law.
The Philippine position on the West Philippine Sea is not a function of Sino-American strategic rivalry. Instead, it is caused, no doubt, by the overreach of the Chinese Communist Party, of which the most glaring evidence is the 9, 10, or 11-dash line that has absolutely no basis in international law.
But statements alone aren't enough. The seas are becoming a live chessboard, one false move from turning into a flashpoint. Meanwhile, just north of Luzon, tensions in the Taiwan Strait are peaking. During the Hanquang military drills in July 2025, Taiwan reported 31 Chinese aircraft sorties and 7 naval vessels on a single day. 24 of those planes crossed the median line, a long-standing unofficial boundary meant to prevent direct conflict. China's exercises, like Joint Sword 2024 A and B, weren't just posturing, they were full-scale invasion simulations. And if things go hot in the Strait, the Philippines is in the splash zone. Geography leaves no room for neutrality. The Philippines' northernmost military post, Mavulis Island, is just 88 miles away from Taiwan's southern tip. Northern Luzon sits only 155 miles south of Taiwan, well within range of missile strikes, radar coverage, and rapid deployment routes. Any cross-strait conflict will almost certainly involve or affect Philippine territory, whether it likes it or not. Beyond the battle maps, there are real human lives at stake. Around 200,000 Filipino overseas workers currently live and work in Taiwan. If conflict breaks out, Manila will be forced to launch one of the largest civilian evacuations in Southeast Asian history, a logistical and humanitarian nightmare that no government can afford to ignore. Strategically, the alignment also makes sense within the US-backed First Island Chain Defense posture, where Taiwan serves as a key linchpin. If Taiwan falls, the buffer weakens. Not just for Japan and the US, but also for the Philippines, whose own maritime borders become far more exposed. It's a sobering thought. Taiwan's fate may well determine the security future of the entire Indo-Pacific. What's pushing the Philippines and Taiwan closer isn't just shared values, it's shared threats, geographic inevitability, and the ticking clock of a region on edge. On paper, the Philippines doesn't officially recognize Taiwan. In reality, they're edging closer by the day. Behind diplomatic ambiguity lies a flurry of activity, joint patrols, quiet meetings, strategic exchanges, all pointing to a fast-growing, informal security partnership between Manila and Taipei. Philippine Coast Guard vessels have begun patrolling the Bashi Channel alongside Taiwanese ships, a major waterway critical to China-Taiwan dynamics. There are even ongoing discussions to regularize Philippine Navy transits through this channel, opening the door to more consistent military-to-military coordination. And it's not just ships. Intelligence sharing has ramped up, with both sides exchanging details on Chinese naval and air movements, a major shift from their previously hands-off approach. In July 2025, top Philippine Coast Guard and Navy officials traveled to Taiwan, attended a high-level maritime forum, and even held a face-to-face meeting with President Lai Ching-te. That single move triggered fury in Beijing. a sign of how sensitive and strategic this cooperation has become.
So, Dr. Tariela, talk to us about your visit to Taiwan.
I highlighted that it is important for all those countries who are experiencing bullying and violation of their rights as a country is that we don't have to be silent about it. We need to expose such aggression and tell that to the world. It doesn't mean that we want to provoke anybody or to escalate the tension, but it's important for us to tell the international community that as a peace-loving nation, there is this country, like the People's Republic of China, who violates international law, does not adhere to the law of the sea, and even bully ordinary Filipino fishermen.
Meanwhile, the Philippines' formal alliance with the U.S. is stronger than it's been in decades, and it's reshaping regional defense geometry. The Expanded Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA, now gives the U.S. military access to 9 bases across the Philippines, with 3 positioned in northern Luzon within direct reach of Taiwan. President Marcos Jr., walking a delicate diplomatic line, insists these bases are not offensive platforms, but adds, they will prove to be useful for us should that terrible occurrence come about.
It sends a very strong message of the commitment of both our countries to continue to work together to maintain the peace in the Indo-Pacific region within the South China Sea.
Joint military drills have exploded in scale and frequency. From Balakatan to Kamandog, and now Cope Thunder, Filipino, American, and even Japanese troops are training side by side, with Taiwan contingency scenarios quietly embedded into their planning. During Kamandog, U.S. and Philippine forces launched anti-ship missile simulations from Batanes Islands, just 130 miles from Taiwan's southern tip. Observers? Taiwanese military officers. Quiet participation, but undeniable presence. The hardware backing all this is also expanding fast. Since fiscal year 2015, the U.S. has provided the Philippines with over $463 million in security aid, plus an additional $237 million in defense support. High-impact assets like the Typhoon missile system, capable of hitting targets 1,500 miles away, have already been deployed to northern Luzon. These systems can strike naval targets in the Taiwan Strait or even deep inside Chinese territory. And Japan has joined the fold, quietly emerging as a significant security partner. From patrol boats and radar systems to a fresh 1.6 billion yen $10.6 million maritime aid package in late 2024, Tokyo is investing in Philippine maritime capacity. Talks are already underway for the transfer of destroyer escorts and surveillance aircraft, a massive leap forward in multilateral defense cooperation. In essence, the Philippines isn't just preparing for conflict, it's weaving itself into a regional defense web alongside Taiwan, the US, and Japan. Not through declarations, but through drills, deployments, and daring diplomatic footwork. The message is clear. If a Taiwan flashpoint sparks, Manila won't be watching from the sidelines. Beijing isn't staying silent. It's sounding the alarm, loudly and with sharp-edged threats. After high-profile engagements between Philippine officials and Taiwan's leadership in mid-2025, China's foreign ministry issued a chilling warning. Spokesperson Guo Jiakun didn't mince words. Those who play with fire will perish by it.
菲律宾伙同域外国家大搞军事演习，引入和部署战略战术武器，破坏地区战略稳定，破坏本地区经济增长前景。中方坚决反对任何国家以台湾问题为借口，强化地区军事部署，挑动紧张对抗，破坏地区和平稳定。奉劝有关方面不要在台湾问题上挑衅，玩火者必自焚。
That message wasn't veiled. It was aimed directly at Manila. Soon after, Beijing summoned the Philippine ambassador, accusing the Marcos administration of gross interference and of sending wrong signals to Taiwan independence forces. The warnings haven't stopped at words. Economic retaliation is now openly on the table. China has hinted at reducing trade, cutting tourism, and even targeting Philippine exports, especially if Manila continues official-level engagements with Taipei. These are classic pressure tactics. Economic levers used to isolate and intimidate, but this time, the Philippines seems less willing to bend. Meanwhile, the People's Liberation Army, PLA, is turning up the heat on the ground, or rather, at sea. Chinese military vessels have increased monitoring of joint patrols in contested waters, tracking movements by the Philippine Coast Guard and its allies. Around Scarborough Shoal, a long-disputed maritime flashpoint, PLA Navy combat readiness patrols have become routine. Just on July 3, 2025, PLA ships aggressively patrolled the area, signaling not only dominance, but also a readiness to escalate. Beijing's goal is clear: raise the cost of alignment with Taiwan. But Manila's calculus is changing. As tensions harden, the future of Philippines-Taiwan relations sits at the center of a new Indo-Pacific power matrix, with the US and Japan reinforcing Philippine defense and Taiwan increasingly welcomed, albeit unofficially, into Manila's strategic circle. China's threats are meeting resistance, not retreat. What once was taboo, open military cooperation with Taipei, is now becoming normalized, if quietly. The outlook: more friction, more flashpoints, and a region that will likely face bigger tests in the coming year. But one thing is certain: the Philippines is no longer sitting on the fence. It's positioning itself, with eyes wide open, for a future where neutrality may no longer be an option. The Philippines isn't just drifting closer to Taiwan, it's steering toward it, pushed by the gravity of shared threats and hard geography. What began as unofficial, under-the-radar contact is now evolving into a strategic necessity. From the Bashi Channel patrols to military intelligence sharing, Manila's growing cooperation with Taipei reflects a fundamental shift in regional defense priorities, and it's happening despite the diplomatic landmines laid by Beijing. This trajectory points to something bigger. The Philippines is becoming a more integral player in the US-led Indo-Pacific security network. With EDCA sites expanding, joint military drills multiplying, and trilateral coordination with Japan and the US deepening, Manila is no longer the quiet bystander. It's becoming a key node in a regional containment arc around China. But this shift comes at a cost. Tensions with China will almost certainly rise, and so will the pressure on President Marcos Jr. to walk a tightrope, strengthening defense ties without triggering direct retaliation. That balancing act may define the Philippines' foreign policy for years to come. Yet, beyond the geopolitics lies a deeply human motivator: the safety of over 200,000 overseas Filipino workers, OFWs, in Taiwan. If conflict breaks out, Manila would face not just a security crisis, but a humanitarian emergency. Protecting these lives may be the single strongest reason the Philippines is quietly but decisively realigning its place in the Indo-Pacific. Thank you for tuning into our channel. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of global issues.